Here we go. So welcome everyone to Meshery Development Meeting. Today is November 2. So before we begin, I request everyone to please drop in your name in attendees list. And before we start with every call, so we do welcome newcomers. So if you are joining this call for the first time, feel free to unmute yourself and give a quick introduction. So do we have newcomers today? I guess not. So
yeah, maybe I don't remember. Yeah. So Jason Gomez is with us. That's nice. Kapil is here. Abhi is here, and Batmi is here. Some of them might have been on this call in the past, and Amit Kumar is here. Just relatively fresh names, but some of you have been around for a little while. If you haven't had a chance to introduce on this call, now's the time. It's nice to get to know everybody, nice to get you introduced to everyone else and everyone else introduced to you. And that way they can help you navigate your way around the projects, find a way to get involved using the projects, contributing to them, or however. Jason, have you gotten a chance to say hi on this call before? Senor Gomez. And we also have Babadenda Ahmed joining. We either have audio challenges or potentially some shy folks, and I totally get that. Anyway, if you haven't had a chance to say hi, feel free to drop in a message in the Zoom chat or into Slack, and we will be sure to harass you. Get to know you. Gaurav, if you don't mind, since I'm already talking a little bit. Hey, my name's Lee, by the way, for those that don't know me, and that's Gaurav that was just speaking. I just wanted to take a moment to talk about the currently the release of Meshery that's being developed currently, which is like the .7 release. So we released .6 a little while ago, and then we've been going through a bit of planning for what's next. There is a missing link that will get dropped in right around here. The link will take you to just the list of roadmap features for this current release that we're just on the start of. I wanted to take a brief moment to highlight a couple of items. One being this concept that we talked about last time that we met. It is the notion that within Meshery, and this could be an embarrassing moment. I just sat down on my machine. Am I running Meshery? Yes. Survey says, yeah. So what is that? Antoinette, what is that? Survey says, is that, it's a terrible joke from Survey Says, what is it? Family Feud, right? Yeah, that's the, okay, I guess you have to, yeah. Anyway, Survey says that I'm running Meshery in Meshery when you perform operations like, deploy a design, undeploy an application. This is a sample app, by the way, for kind of interesting. Got a few different components, but if I were to deploy this, and as a matter of fact, just randomly, let's do that. Let's see if my Kubernetes is up.
Lee, are you sharing something?
Oh man, this whole time I'm not sharing. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, good. Well, I can. My demos are always better second time around. Okay. Anyway, hey, I just wanted to, I didn't want to take that long. I just wanted to interject at the front of the meeting to say there's a new release train that we're starting, a new, version of Meshery .7 It's going to be packed full of features, just like every release is. One of the bigger features was to be a set of enhancements around this area right here. So when users, like any of you, go through and interact with Meshery, and you have it perform actions like this operation that I just invoked, it was an undeploy of an application that apparently is undefined. So I know Gaurav is working in this area right now. But anyway, what it said was, it conveyed to me what has transpired based on the buttons that I've clicked. So I clicked a button called undeploy, and Meshery performed an operation. That operation might be successful, or it might not, or it might be successful but take like an hour. And conveying to the user the fact that there was an operation performed, how long it took, if it's still in progress, if it had a problem, what to do about that problem, like retry, cancel the operation, restart the operation, roll back the operation. I feel like we're on like I'm a weatherman right now. It's like, okay, you might roll it back, you might roll it forward, you might cancel it, you might even restart it. And you but you're going to want to know about all those things that transpired. So we have this notification center. Great, this is helpful, but it is not nearly as helpful as it could be if it were enhanced to be more of an operations center, to let you know that the fact that you clicked this button at this time, and what happened to it. So that's the first significant kind of area of focus and enhancement in this upcoming release. And there's a design specification for that area. It's going to require lots of front-end coding, lots of back-end coding, and lots of user experience design. There are user experience design designs for Meshery in this file called Meshery UI. It's hard to see, and I cannot blow it up because that's not how Figma works. But there's a page called General Notification Center, or there's a page called Notification System, and it goes through and talks about how the current notification center works. But we need a notification center plus an operations center that does a lot more. So there's there will be any number of you that are contributing to the project that will be involved in this. Okay, great. Please spend some time, go ask questions, jump in. Let's get rolling on this. This is going to be good. There's some other areas that have already been in flight for a long time. So we're overhauling Meshery's UI. I won't even speak to it. I'll just let you click on the links and come to get involved. Lots of things to do there. We've called for operational reviews. We've called for UX reviews previously. So I'll let you look at that. I won't explain it. We've called for design spec reviews in other areas. And so I just wanted to highlight that these things are going on and that you are all welcome to come and express opinion or ask questions or say how silly the design is, try to improve upon it. And yeah, these are just a couple of examples of things that will be happening here. If you were to, even just Google this real fast. The Zoom bar is right in my way. I'll just drop this link in for everybody to go have a peek at this. The ask here is that if you see something of interest, please inquire about it, because there's a lot of question marks next to these things. And it's not that, if you're interested, it's not that your name has to go here, it's that you might just want to collaborate on a particular area. There's a fair bit going on. Ooh, who's this person? Boy, looks like they're going to be doing a lot in this release. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Gaurav. I just wanted to
yeah, thank you. Yeah, so Lee just give an overview of Meshery dots when planning. So if you are interested in this effort, please do chime in chat or in Slack. With that, let's move to our first agenda item for today, which is by Ashish. You have 3 agenda items in rows. So Ashish would like to take over the screen.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so since in one of these tasks, I was supposed to put a diagram into the architecture or the design spec, but since I was basically I procrastinated, and now I'll be showing it on the draw.io to explain few things, and I'll put that on the design spec later. So that's my fault. But okay, so I'll start with the enforcing provider PR. So recently there was an ask of having an environmental variable inside of Meshery server that will enable us to configure few things about how the endpoints are authenticated at the build time. So the authentication mechanisms were split into two: provider authentication and no authentication. There are a few endpoints which require no authentication, as adapters are the ones talking to them, and they don't have they are not provider specific, they do not have tokens and all, so that's why they are kept that way. And other thing is was that if you give it a flag which is enforced provider, then it will basically override whatever provider you try to log in as, and it will only allow you to perform operations via that provider. The changes inside of the extensibility API and extensibility provider docs have been made, and this PR is up for review. So this, and I had already demoed a little bit of this PR in the last call, so I won't go over this thing again and get to the next thing. I'll circle back to this if anyone has any doubts. Next thing was adding mesh model components into the database. Okay, so I think yeah, I'll first talk about this thing and then about the next thing. So to give a little bit of context to people before I start mumbling about mesh model components in this, I have just created this diagram, and and the green thing is basically what we will be getting to, and the red stuff is what we have right now. And so we have clients right now like Meshery UI, mesheryctl, and they make a request, and these requests are currently in a pattern file format. And then then all of this big box is inside of Meshery server. So these requests are in pattern file format, like one you would see in maybe if I go over service mesh patterns repo, then all the currently everywhere you'll see, you'll only find this format, but we're trying to get away from this format. So this is how a general pattern file format looks like. It has services and it looks like a Docker file and all. So this is the current format, and this is what client send request as right now. So this is the pattern file format, and then we have definition files, which used to be definitions and schemas. So in pattern file format, you tell the server what you want to deploy, like your Istio service mesh, your infrastructure. And these definition files are the way for server to know what these things actually mean. So the registrants or the handlers, like they can be adapters, they can be Kubernetes, it can be Kubernetes itself. These things actually give you, it's like a custom, if you come from Kubernetes, it's like a custom, this is a custom resource definition, and this is a custom resource itself. So that's kind of an analogy I'll go with here. So these pattern files are basically a way for you to describe your infrastructure, and these handlers register definitions, and currently they follow this ohm definition, ohm format, which we used to have. And if you go inside of any of the adapters, like if you go inside of Istio adapter, and then you'll go inside templates, ohm workload, we have a bunch of these. So if I go into ohm and workloads, as you can see, for each of the versions, we are dynamically generating these definitions and schema files. They are just a way for describing what it means for something to be an authorization policy.istio, and when you get that thing, how to handle that thing, etc., etc. So these are your definition files, and they used to follow this ohm format, and now we are moving to the component definition format. And the instantiations used to be in the pattern file format, and now we're moving to a design format. So the handlers register, we use these definitions to validate and to find out the meaning of what like virtual service means and all. And then using all that data, we generate request, which used to go in the process ohm call, but that would be renamed to now process design call, using the analogy. But this is kind of the backend part of the backend. So even the pattern engine can be broken down into front end and backend. This is the this is how the end request looks like, and the way end request looks like will remain the same. as of now. So the change is completely backwards compatible. And after that, a gRPC call is made to the handler. So whatever component said that, hey, I know what istio mesh is, or I know what traffic mesh is, that component will then take this request and process it, maybe deploy something, and then that will stream back events. And as Lee already talked about notification center, the Meshy server would stream back notifications like this was deployed, your mesh was deployed, this thing was applied, and all those things. So now the migration, the way I have broken it down is in phases. So if I go over migration from Ohm to mesh models, currently we are at phase 1, which is that new endpoints are added under the /API/mesh model/components endpoint. And under these endpoints, new component capabilities would be registered. So as I told here, that the registrant registers things. So currently it only registers Ohm definitions and schemas. Now it will also register component definitions in schemas. This change would be in a way that there will be a time where pattern engine will support both of these things, and then we'll slowly get rid of Ohm. We don't want to, break anything. So that we would be at a point supporting both pattern file format and both the design format. We would be using both component definition and Ohm. So if you give it a previous format, we'll also support that, and then slowly we'll deprecate it. So on the registration part, the Ohm definitions and schemas will still be registered, but along with them, the first step is that component definitions will be registered. And let me also open my pull request as a reference point. Yeah, this is, and just to give you an idea about, so initially one of the other differences is that in Ohm format we had separate definition file and separate schema file, and now we won't be having it that way. There is just going to be one component definition file. The schema is basically an open API spec, so to speak. So every component like Istio, they are exposed via APIs, and these APIs have a way to tell the client that what are the fields and values that we expect, or all those things come under schema, and definition is all the other stuff like what is the name and who's the handler. This came from Kubernetes, this came from some metadata, like this came from Artifact Hub. All those things, they come under definition. So if I okay, this is my PR, and if I look at any one of these okay, so here I'm not statically generating components, but yeah, if I load any of these up, these are the, okay, I've deleted these ones. I guess these are, okay, yeah, there is the test.yaml. This is the one generated by Nitish. So this is kind of how the component definition looks like. It has the kind API version. It has a schematic. Currently we are using this, we are putting the schema inside of spec, but slowly we'll move to schematic. This is for, again, backwards compatibility. We want to do a slow migration. Nothing should be very sudden. So yeah, this is how the new format is going to look like, and these things will be registered along with these things that you saw. But and how the way Meshy server would work is it would based upon what is the format that you're trying to use. If you're using designs, it would use that format. If you're using pattern files, it would use that format. So the first step is at least to have the components at an endpoint for those components to be registered and endpoints for those components to be queried. And that is the job of this mesh model endpoint. I have added the post, the get, and all the so there is post, get, and I think delete. We didn't support delete in the original endpoint, so I don't know whether we should support delete of components here, but again, that's something of post discussion. I'll come back to the progress here. So yeah, so /API/mesh model components has been this API has been added. Another thing that I just missed on is these definition files are used by server to create the instances. Yes, but there is another thing. There is another place also where these definitions are being used, and that is on client side. So if you're using mesheryctl, you would write your design files, or you in the new format, and in the previous format your pattern files by hand. So you'll type kind and all those things. But if you use something like design configurator or something like in meshmap you have designer, if you use those things, then you don't have to pre-fill those things. Why? Because we directly go to the Meshy server and we take these definition files and we make use of them to create the schema for you, to create all the an RJSF form for you to fill. So in the proposed model, we'll be using the component definitions to basically the way it would work is these things would be, so if you given a component definition, you can create a pattern. So there will be a cross here, and slowly from using a component definition to create a pattern file, we will go to using a component definition to create a design. So right now we use OM definitions and schemas to create a pattern file.
Ashish, let me interrupt just because of the time check. Like I didn't. We'll want to
Okay,
put this type
yeah.
Also, I don't know that this is more like probably a proposal for review. Right. Yeah. I don't know that we've talked about how to. I don't know that this has been proposed in a doc, and probably needs to be about, how to transition from one to the next.
Yeah, all those things are on phase 2. That's why they were being discussed. So coming back, I was skipping to phase 2 anyways. So on phase 1, yeah, these endpoints would be added, and the UI would use these component definitions to generate pattern files or whatever. And yeah, so and I'm adding this thing in the same, and the third task or the third agenda item is actually related to the second one, which is registering mesh model components and helm chart import. So like if you import an Istio helm chart, and Istio helm chart consists of virtual service and destination rule, and you don't have them registered because currently we have an Istio adapter which comes and registers those components. If you don't have an adapter, we need to dynamically we need to dynamically have these components being registered. So let me demo that real quick. Okay, so here I have my Meshery server instance running. Okay, and if I go over /API/meshmodel/components, I have no components right now. And since I just opened the UI, in a while I'll have here Kubernetes components. They are generated dynamically on starts. Yeah, so I don't have anything right now here. Surely not anything like virtual service and destination rule. I hope I'm checked out to the current branch to make sure that everything works. Okay, so now if I go and import, let's say, an Istio helm chart. Let me find a link for any of these. Yeah, so if I take, sorry. Yeah, so if I take like this one, and if I try to import it, go to the applications. Okay, and here now if you can see here, there are custom resource definitions we have, like virtual service and all. And as you had, and if I go to the components now, because there are a whole bunch of components, let me try to filter it. If I, let's say, virtual service dot kids, I guess this would be the name for now. Yeah, so I have now my virtual service here, because this virtual service basically came from this helm chart. So when you now import a helm chart, all the custom resource definitions it has, it will use those custom resource definitions to refer back to this thing, the component definitions, and this endpoint you can use to see those component definitions in the schema and everything. So yeah, that change has been added onto the same PR. Yeah, so that was it from my side. And this the phase 1 that I'm talking about, this would be over by this week. If I get some support from front end will have to use these specs basically to slowly migrate. And I think the first step would be to use Kubernetes components. As one of the other tasks was to have these Kubernetes components on your local file system, so that even if you don't have a Kubernetes cluster connected, you can still design your service, and you won't be able to deploy them, but you would still be able to design them. And for that change is also added in this PR. I'll go over time, so I have already demoed it another call, so I'll just end with that note. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ashish. So we have next Ruturaj. So Harkirat, would you like to present on Ruturaj's behalf?
Yeah, sure. So like Ruturaj required the UI for the publish thing in the Meshery. So I added it, and like Like this is all like stuff. So if anyone who is admin can like test my PR, like to tell me whether this is actually sending the payload, like it's actually sending and like don't have the admin role and just confirm it like it's actually working. So that's the update regarding adding a publish button in the UI for the Meshery, like a small update. Yeah, you can. This is the PR.
Yeah. If you go back to UI, so are you using the same prompt component?
Yeah, no, this I created a new prompt.
Mm, I think you should use the same prompt component.
Okay, the like one, this one, I think this one.
Yeah.
I talked with Ruturaj and he said like we need a different one, so I created a different one.
Yeah. Okay. We can carry forward the conversation in Slack.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next up we have Kamal on implementation usage of Meshkit. Kamal, are you up for demo?
Yeah, so I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so uh, my PR, like this is regarding implementing the usage of Meshkit for logging. Like currently we use logger or FMT package. They are the external packages that we use for logging. But this PR is regarding now that we have our own function library called Meshkit. So we would like to use its utis.log for logging. So this PR currently it has some unit test errors. Like one error is like the import cycle. One second. Yeah, so import cycle not allowed. So yeah, I was just going through those errors and trying to fix them. Yeah, that was my update. I would fix them quickly.
Thank you, Kamal. So do we have any feedback for Kamal? So yeah, let's move on to next agenda item. So we have Kapil. So Kapil would like to present on error message system.
Yeah, sure. 1 second. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. So my task was to improve error messages in some commands. Like first of one was message system channel command. There I tried to improve messages when wrong argument is passed, no argument is passed, and more than the required arguments are passed. So I just want some reviews on this PRs. Like there are two PR open, one for message system channel and other for system lifecycle commands.
Yeah, Kapil, I got to take a look at one of your PRs, and I think Kamal had one here as well. Fantastic. I like that. Those are really helpful. Make a huge difference to the user as they go through and try to, they come to a CLI for the first time and they type a command. Of course, if they're going to get it wrong. Or I think there were a couple of times recently I was demoing mesheryctl, and it had been a while since I'd used a particular area. And so I was just looking for help. I was using the help feature to get some guidance, and I wasn't getting the best of guidance. So, I mean, these updates have a big impact. These small updates have a big impact. It's good.
Like I don't know whether I covered the task completely or not, but I tried my best. So it would be great if I can get some reviews on them.
Actually, I saw this PR. It is
Yeah,
really great. Like
thanks.
I saw the changes.
Although I think like this lint test is failing in my PRs,
Yeah,
but
it's failing in master, so we'll get them fixed.
okay.
Yeah, having said that, that's actually, we could use this opportunity to explore a little bit because one, you might, even if you didn't introduce the lint check failure, you might just fix it anyway, either in this PR or a subsequent one. And this also, for those that are on the call that are kind of looking for low-hanging fruit, like an easy place to jump in, this is one of those places, and it's really helpful. Again, I don't know how familiar all of you are with sort of wading through the notes, but if you click the details button to the right of that failed lint check, it can take some finesse. But if you, oh geez, yeah, you've been through here. Perfect.
Okay, I would like to look into this.
Yeah,
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 I will search and open a new PR for it.
yeah, please. Yeah, it's this one's a little bit different than the typical failed lint check. Usually the failed lint check will say, oh, it'll say any number of things, but it'll talk about your code and what the issue with the code is. In this case, it looks like it's saying it's having some problems, maybe setting
It's
up
not
the lint
able to
check.
load something. Can't load FMT.
Cool. I'll leave it in your capable hands. But yeah, that's
Okay.
good.
Yeah, thank you, Kapil. That was a good update. So next item is by Rakshit and me. So it's on improve
One
work.
thing I also want to discuss,
Yeah.
like we have labels. Like I asked on Slack, and they said that the label is updated, but the label accepted by Hacktober is Hacktoberfest accepted only, not event slash Hacktoberfest accepted. So this label is wrong.
Yeah, do they need, the Hacktoberfest is listed as a topic in the repo. Do they also subsequently need labels on each individual PR? I wonder.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know that I guess I don't know that the label matters. Like it, I'll point out the rules and yeah, maybe it's because the PR. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, let's follow up, Kapil. Let's make sure we
Thanks.
get that credit.
So yeah, moving on to next topic. So it's by me and Rakshit. So it's on improve verbiage for toaster notification in configuration and the next iteration for the notification framework in with respect to the notification that we have. So earlier in this call, we saw that we were getting an undefined on this thing over here in the toaster notification. So it will show the item name and notification showing design successfully deployed, and similarly for deploy and undeploy as well. And the same thing is updated across patterns, filters in both grid and table view. So I collaborated with Rakshit on his PR, and the next item we want to work on this is with respect to the notification centers. So currently we are just showing a green success snack bar on deploy and undeploy, but we want to change it to blue information info snack bar. And because we will be adding using the notification system, so to make the consistency, we will be changing the success bar to the info bar.
Hey, question. I don't know, like, and Ashish might know this, but by the way, I was just noticing most people don't have their webcams on. Like, hey, if you got a webcam, turn it on. It's great to see you. I have a question about Notification Center. From the UI, if you would like to write JavaScript to create an entry in the Notification Center, is that possible? Or do all of those need to be sourced from the backend, from Golang? And even if they do.
Okay. Are you completing it?
Well, okay, yeah. Even if they do need to be sourced from Golang, like from the backend, is it possible is there a generic mechanism for the front end to say, oh, hey, I have a new message. I'd like to send this text. Maybe that you would invoke a backend operation that would then, enter it into the Notification Center.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So actually, I mean, whatever is seen on the Notification Center would be the result of what is the state of the notification, and that notification state could be structured in such a way that it is robust and maintainable in a long term, that it follows some structure of what we get from the backend. And definitely what you get from the backend from the by the updates in /API/events, it will be truncated as a next notification message inside the notification panel. And if it needs some more structural supervision or structural change modifications, etc., to make it more, make it more generic and more easy to handle in a long term. So it can be done, because that's really an old implementation of what we are seeing right now. So definitely we can do any number of things. We can trigger an event, notification event from the UI also. It can also accept something from the backend. Because that's all being streamlined through a React state, it can be done anyways.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so any other feedback or question regarding this particular item?
So, yeah, one other one, if I could, sorry, one other one, if I could. I think, given, how frequently the Notification Center and sort of the enhanced kind of Operations Center will be used and referenced by both people contributing and users. Well, I guess mainly by contributors. It'd be really nice if the set of contributing docs that we have in the docs.meshery.io had a little description, for UI contributors about, what to do. And maybe I understand that might change a little bit over time, but at least we could document what's there now, and it could be a great reference, for going forward.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Nice. Oh.
Yeah, so with that, let's move to next agenda item by Pranav. So Pranav, would you like to present?
Yes, I'll share my screen. So I will be talking about the tombstoning of items, which is assigned to me right now. So if you don't know what happens when Meshery is deployed, whether inside or outside of cluster, and it discovers a cluster, then it automatically identifies the workflows running in the cluster, and then it shows them onto your dashboard. And currently what we have is that if we delete any of the items, and one more thing, that it saves them into the local database. Like right now, we can see all them. You can see them through different extensions. So currently the ask is that if we delete any of the workloads, then instead of deleting them from the database, we should tombstone them so that we can refer them again, but they shouldn't be shown on the UI. So that is the thing which I'm currently working on. So it's not completed, but I can show you a demo like what is happening right now. So for example, if I created a namespace test1, which I just created right now, and we can see that it's in this table. And
if I delete it right now, so even though the UI will get updated based on if I do so when this item is getting deleted from a cluster, it automatically reconciles with MeshSync, and MeshSync sends a new event that is deleted, and as you can see, it just got reduced to 5. And similarly, if I now search that in my database, I wouldn't see it because it automatically gets deleted as well as soon as I do that. So now I would be working through that through a soft delete, a new tag which I would be adding into the models which we have. We would be needing one more that is deleted at field, which will be tracking whenever we delete any of these items. Then instead of deleting it, it will add that timestamp on which it gets deleted, and then we can track them on future reference as well. So that is the thing which I'm working on right now. So any questions or anything which I need to consider? So yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if Uzair caught that. I have to say I missed part of what Pranav had said, although now I'm very sorry for that because it's a great feature that you're working on. To replay part of that is that if related to this functionality, if someone disconnects a context, if someone removes a Kubernetes context from Meshery, that has the effect of removing the Meshery operator from that cluster. And I guess this is a question. Consequently, does that also have the effect of tombstoning all the records associated with that cluster?
Currently, it is not in place, but after my PR, it would be. Currently, even on deleting a context, we don't delete the meshing data which is in the database. So I already have a PR. I was integrating the new thing as well in this one, so it's not complete right now. This one, though, it takes care of deleting the data as soon as we delete a context.
Okay, got you. And then that would be similar behavior will occur if a user goes over and chooses they leave the cluster connected, but they decide to flush the MeshSync data. Is that the same? Will the same underlying system behavior occur, or will it be different?
Actually, currently the thing is that if we flush our meshing data, then we also do a resync with the connected cluster. So that would require a little bit of thought on how we want to change the current behavior, because if we don't want to resync after flushing the data, then that can also be achieved. But that would change the current behavior what we have right now. So yeah.
Yeah, got you. Yeah, it seems like a simple initial answer would be to hard delete on flush, given that a resync will occur. And I think with Meshery's current functionality, that will generally be acceptable, fine. There will be a future consideration where people are adminning their clusters and something happens, and they want to go back in time, like it happened yesterday, and they want to go back in time to look at that. And so, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Pranav. So next up is Nishant. So Nishant would like to present.
Yeah. In the last call, I told that I'll be making a pull request to deprecate our custom homebrew-tap. So for those who don't know, earlier we used to use this tap. We still use this tap for publishing mesheryctl binary, so that users can tap. Users can use this command, add this repository to their homebrew, and then they can install mesheryctl. But they no longer need to do so because mesheryctl is also present on homebrew core. and therefore we and since now we are publishing our releases just fine from using homebrew core, we are deprecating this tab, and for this I have made a pull request. This pull request deletes the mesheryctl formula from this tab and also adds a tab migrations .json, and this file is understood by homebrew, and homebrew knows that now mesheryctl has been migrated to homebrew core. So anyone who has installed mesheryctl using this tab will now receive updates from homebrew core tab. And I've also made a second pull request that modifies the Go releaser, and will so whenever the mesheryctl release workflow occurs, it will no longer try to publish a binary to publish like update the homebrew formula in our custom tab. And yeah, this is pretty much it. And the only like as I also told that there was one consideration that we need to keep in mind for future while publishing to homebrew core is that like previously our release titles went too long, release versions. So for example 0.6.0-rc.6ff, and these versions were not very were not being understood by homebrew, and therefore we had a we had to define a version function instead inside our homebrew formula, and that correctly parses the version using our using the branch name. And but as soon as our version titles got simpler, like 0.6.2, and homebrew core was able to parse these versions, their CI started erroring, saying that you no longer need a custom version function. So one of their maintainers removed the version field from our formula, and so that it can be automatically detected from now on. But like if in future our version titles again become complex like this, we'll need to manually modify the formula again in our pull request to homebrew core.
Ooh, yeah, Nishant, there's no doubt we will run into this again, because the version numbers, the versions that we were using, even though long, they're correct, they're SEMVer compliant. And it's homebrew's lack of sophistication that's getting in our way. We need to take a note somewhere so that we can come back to
we
this.
can. And another permanent fix would be like we can make, like we're using this action to publish our to make pull request to the homebrew core repository as soon as we run the mesheryctl release flow. Maybe we can modify it so that we can modify it so that we can modify it so that if our versions get too long, it automatically adds a version field again, or maybe make a pull request to it. And
that sounds reasonable. You know, the first thing you said sounded kind of nice.
As in like forking this and making a change.
Well, or as in, like, or I thought you were alluding to potentially having logic in our workflow that checked for that it works around the lack of sophistication of homebrew by
actually the complete workflow, the complete flow of making a pull request, like editing the formula, is handled by this action completely. So to make modifications, that we'll need to make changes in this action either by forking it or
oh yeah, sure,
so that we never need to worry about this.
Nice. Yeah.
So like, should I open a GitHub issue tracking this?
Please, if you would.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
So
Thank you,
I think
Nishant. Yep. Yeah. Lee was
I was just saying, I think we explained this last time, but Nishant's what he's concluding is that the installation of mesheryctl is even briefer, even easier than it was in the past, and so he's just tying off that work. So it's quite helpful.
So next we have Abhi with multiple issues in a row. So Abhi would like to present.
Okay, yeah, let me share my screen. So I hope Chrome is visible. Anyways, the first issue is the Meshery playground. So we are planning a new hosted environment of Meshery that could be used by anyone. And for this, we need limited feature sets and based on the user capabilities. So based on the user, if the user isn't, now the user can be entitled to some features and they cannot be entitled to some others. This is the work under progress where the entitlement will reflect on the UI, which part of it should be visible to the user and which part of it user can interact with and which of them they cannot. So based on this, there may be any number of non-pointer events on the UI, and based on what you are entitled to, you may have the certain part of the UI functional for you and certain part of not. So so that's the item number 1. And since I have less time, so I'll be moving to the item number 2. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Moving to item number 2, there has been recently RGSF. What we do is this thing is also since my capabilities are saying that I can't use this, so I can't show you the configuration, but the same thing is available here also. So this is the form that we use to to configure the fields that is available to the user, that is to be included in the final YAML for the patterns, or so-called, this is now called design. So this is the RGSF form, and there has been, we were using RGSF version 3 for a very long time, and we have just moved to RGSF version 5, and that's somehow handling this migration change. And we have a few regression issues, but Harkirat is on them to fix it. So, and moving to the third item, which is GraphQL subscription connection issue. So recently, what we had earlier was there is a subscription based update that we do in the UI whenever there is some change in the database, or sorry, in the Meshery server. In the database, Meshery server tells that there is a change in the database, and that triggers an event, and that shows like the result. So what's being changed and not. So earlier the UI was UI was the cause of a big bottleneck that we have around for a very long time, that the connection get lost after many retries. If you're seeing here, there has been more than 10 to 15 retries, and all the connections have been lost, and the final connection is established. So based on, we were for a long time thinking about this is a bottleneck from the backend, but it was not, and came out that there has been some issues around UI where the subscription, the connection time for the server to accept, to acknowledge the WebSocket is very less, that it drops. So it just starts dropping simultaneously, regularly in progressive manner, and then the final one of them just get accepted. And so that's being fixed with increasing the timeout, minimum timeout. And that has reduced our connection speed, like initial connection speed to I think from 10-15 seconds to like 1 to 3 seconds. So that's been good performance update here. And I think I have covered up to this point. Need for E2E tests. So there has been a long-standing ask for the volunteers to write some end-to-end tests for designs, applications, and filters. So again, I'm unfortunate that I cannot show you the design, application, and patterns right now. But what they are, most of the people on the call were signifying like they are the part of the configuration menu here. And what it does is like there has been some initial set of tests already written for design, applications, and filters, and there has been some updates around. There has been movement from a RESTful API to GraphQL, and that broke some part of the test inside there. So those things needs to be fixed promptly in order to move further with adding more of the end-to-end test support for Meshery UI with respect to these three constructs that we have. And that's why the volunteer is needed here. And I think Mario also has outstanding PR here. I don't recall like whether it is linked or not, but I'll see. Yeah, we can see through it all together to rectify the problem here. Anyone has any interest over writing E2E test, then they can tell it on Slack. There has been 2 channels associated for test only. That is, one is Meshery CI and another is Cypress testing. They can show their interest anywhere. The next item is refine and remove redundancy from design file, and that's related to this, where there has been bunch of duplicate information going along, where it may be a refined YAML, but what you used to see here is the name, namespace, and labels. Labels and annotations were mentioned at 2 places that were first of all here from line 16 to 20, and second as a part of the settings, and they were both redundant to each other, and they were for no reason increasing the final pattern file size. So that redundancy or that duplicacy has been removed in this PR. So that's mostly related to it. And yeah, next is, so that's a very long, very, what should I call, very a past, or I can't get a word, but I have no context right now for this, because there has been increasing number of problems in the settings page and meshing and operator state. So there is one of the this thing where the subscription reflector is one of the part where we are doing some changes with respect to refactoring the subscription and operator status to make things uniform from the front end as well as back end. And these 2 things can be jotted down together, and what basically it's telling is that we were into issues with the MeshSync and operator state for a very long time, and we are doing some updates regarding subscription for the operator state, and unifying. MeshSync and operator states right now has been 2 different subscriptions for a very long time, and they are being now unified, and that will help us to drive the consistency and uniformity across the UI, and handling less edge cases in order in the UI to get into any future bug. And yes, the last item here is related to the end-to-end test for here only, which is, there has been, whatever you see in the designs, these are the list of tests that are very beginner friendly to do. That are very beginner friendly to write, and they are all using API request and no GraphQL. So that's why they are beginner friendly. And there is a need and ask for volunteers in this area, since writing these tests down one by one, or any one of them by anyone, what I meant. Yeah, so this will aid into your current knowledge of Meshery UI as well as, and this will be a good support for Meshery also in the form of extra end-to-end tests. I think that I have talked about this in this bullet point only. So I think I'm over.
Yeah, thank you, Abhi. That was great set of updates from you. So since we are over by 3 minutes, so let's call this a wrap. So thank you everyone for joining today's Meshery Dev call. We will meet next week with some new and more agenda items. Thank you for joining everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.